Hi there, welcome to my channel where we talk all things stock photography. Let's get going. Now, before you get going and start uploading, you need to get your workflow working for you. So today I'm going to show you how I do it, and it's my workflow. You don't have to copy my workflow, but maybe it'll give you an idea on how to get yourself organized. Hopefully, I've got some good tips for you here. Number one tip, keep your images on an external hard drive. You will clog up your C drive in 5 minutes flat, especially if you're doing video. Here I've got my little drawer of hard drives right next to my computer, and they're all labeled with washi tape. Washi tape was a big phase a few years ago, and I am still addicted to it, and it is so helpful because you can write on it. It's made of paper. Again, you don't have to become a washi tape person. But in this house, I have 3 teenage daughters. I might have mentioned that a few times. 2010, washi tape. Usually I can fill a terabyte hard drive in 1 year, and so I usually just have 1 hard drive per year. And what I do if I have extra space is I fill that space with backups of the previous year. So every year is overlapping. So my 2020 hard drive will contain some 2019 raw files, and then my 2021 hard drive contains some files from 2020. And then I will also have another backup hard drive that I specifically use for raw files or just all my stock photos that I put things onto as well. Number 2 is to save everything. Don't go deleting images, because if you're going to follow my advice and use external hard drives, you've got so much space. So don't go deleting things. If you want to delete the really blurry stuff, sure. But if you don't have to, don't. Trust me. You never know for what crazy reason you need an out of focus, failed, blurry image later on to use as a background. I keep everything, and I use a date-based system for storing my raw files. So let's have a look. If we go into my 2020, 2021 hard drive, I'm actually using one hard drive for 2 years because I haven't shot very much in the last 9 months. It's the COVID thing. It's been a slow year for me creatively. It's actually been pretty good sales-wise. But we moved house. We actually moved twice. I just haven't been doing that many shoots this year. Okay, so before I jump in and show you how I do my files, I should explain I use Adobe Bridge. So Adobe Bridge is a program that comes free with Photoshop. But now that we're all in the Creative Cloud, it's kind of now considered standalone, and then packaged with Bridge is Adobe Camera Raw, which is not a standalone because there's no icon for it separately. So it's hidden in Bridge. So many people don't know about this. Adobe Camera Raw is the base upon which Lightroom is built. So Lightroom and ACR are the same. They look a little bit different. Lightroom's much sexier, but they are the same program in that they do pretty much the same things. And in the olden days, dearie, it used to be free with Photoshop, so I didn't have to use Lightroom separately and then go into Photoshop because I had Bridge ACR, so I could do all my pre-editing in ACR and then go into Photoshop. Bridge is a file sorting, storing, organizational program, and I love it, and I'm not changing. Sorry, not sorry. The reason I use Bridge is that you can see all of your files in the one space. In this screen here, I've got PDFs, I've got sound, I've got JPEGs, movies, I have a spreadsheet somewhere. All of my files I can still see and move around, whereas in Lightroom, it just deals with image files, not the whole shebang. And I don't want to have to go somewhere else to move my spreadsheets around. I want to see them all together in the one place. that's why I use Bridge. You don't have to start using Bridge. You do you. But hopefully you'll get an idea of how I do things. So without any further ado, let's jump into, this is Adobe Bridge, and I'm on my 2020 hard drive. So when you're downloading, everything gets put into the month folder that you shot the image in. So that's your first level of organization. Everything by date. Now here we are finding my first system that I use, which is my star system. So the star system shows me the progress that I'm at in the folder. And so 5 stars is the maximum in Bridge. So 5 stars means I've done everything that was in here. So under February, then I've got these days where I shot things, and these folders also have 5 stars, which means there's nothing left inside of these folders of any interest to me because I've already done all the edits that I was going to do. Blue means something. We'll get into that in a minute. So as far as my workflow for sorting through, as you can see, I've only got 4 stars on all of these. Bridge is great because you can also sort by which ones down here, which ones I still need to work on. And I also keep in my favorites on the side which months I still have to work on. I've got such a backlog. This is pretty bad. Well, again, following my system, April 9. Oof. We stayed on our farm in Queensland, and I'm not actually that keen on any of this. It's just birds and trees. It's kind of boring. I'm unlikely to actually bother with these. So what I might do is say it's done. And then my secondary system that I do is I color it green, which lets me know that there is some stuff in there, if you're desperate, that you could go back in for. I really need to make sure that by December, when I switch over to a new hard drive, I've got all this sorted, because there's nothing worse going into the new year and knowing you've still got things from months ago you haven't edited. You're probably not going to get back to them. And then other years is gems that I find on old hard drives that I bring over onto this hard drive where I go, oh, that's cool, I should edit that. And that was these 2 images that I found from ages ago. And I did edit them and uploaded them, and up they went. So, which is these guys. So actually, they don't need to be here. They can go here. Perfect. That's how it should look. So when it comes to stock, isn't this nice and clean? So I just have a folder called stock, and then underneath stock, I'll have all my agencies listed in a separate folder. So the first one here is model releases. So model releases is something that you're going to need. We'll talk about it later. But I have my whole folder here just for model releases, and I usually add to that every year with all the previous year's model releases. So in here, they're all broken down into all the different years, and I keep adding them up. So all of my 10 hard drives that I have in the drawer have all the model releases. So I've got a very, very small chance of ever losing them. I also keep all my model releases on Dropbox. So then I basically have these listed in the order in which I upload. So the first agency that I always upload to is Stocksy. So within the Stocksy folder, I will have hold a while, things that maybe I shot but are not quite relevant yet for the season, and so I might just wait a month or 2 before I'm going to upload it, especially living in opposite season country. So maybe if I went to the snow and I shot winter pics, I might just wait until a little bit later in the year to upload them for the Northern Hemisphere winter. Then I have my accepted files and my declines and my submitted files, so things that I've uploaded and then I'm waiting for them to be approved. So these have actually gone somewhere else. Okay, now within my accepted folder, of course, surprise, more folders. So I actually sort everything into just a simple alphabetical system because I've named all my files. I do not upload my files with the native Nikon D8 something and a number. I actually give all of my stock images a unique file name. And I found after a while that this was getting, the folder would be full of thousands of images. So if I broke them down into just alphabetical order, And I have a separate one just for food, a separate one just for when my girls are models, a separate one for actual models. Sorry, girls. And a separate one for video, which will show up down here somewhere, I think. Folder. How many folders we got? Video. Oh, and I even did Christmas. Now, the reason I keep declines in a folder as well is that at agencies like Stocksy, a whole shoot has to be exclusive. So you can't take your declines from a shoot and put them somewhere else. So I still keep those declines because maybe if one day I end up pulling the shoot from Stocksy, I can grab the declines, put them together and put them all somewhere else. Or maybe one day I can go back through and look at the declines and wonder what I did wrong and see if I can fix it and try again. And there's heaps of them. You need to grow a very thick skin about your work when it comes to doing stock photography and having work declined. Work that you might have loved, work that you might have thought was awesome, declined. Anyway, so I have another folder called Other Stock, which has my other agencies that I submit to, and I have them listed here in order of how I do it. So my number one agency in the others would be Adobe, and FT there stands for Fotolia because it used to be called Fotolia. So in this section down here are all the other things that I have to upload elsewhere. So there's a lot of video in here. And again, I drag my feet on video because every agency is different, takes so long. Some you have to do FTP upload. Some can do one by one. It's fun. And so recently I had a couple of flower declines. Don't blame you. I shot these in the garden. We just moved into a tropical area and I'm shooting my garden because I can. So I will put these into the Adobe folder first. These two are editorials I shot of the border being shut at Queensland. So Adobe doesn't do editorials. So I'm going to plonk them into Shutterstock in the order of how I upload. Everything else is still a work in progress. So I'm not going to go deep into how I sort, edit for stock. We'll do that in another video. At the moment, I'm going to assume you've already got photos that you want to upload. So we're just going to look at how to get them all ready to upload. So the first thing you need to do before you actually upload any of these is to get your titles and descriptions done. Absolutely do all of these here in your organizational program. So if you're going to use Lightroom or Bridge, this is where you're going to do it. So I don't need this one. We use this section, IPTC, and we put the title, Man Looking Over the Beach. Now, here's the tricky part. Some agencies prefer short titles. Some agencies prefer really long, crazy, descriptive, creative writing kind of titles. Usually, I've already done my titles for Stocksy who like short titles at the moment. So that's what they'll be. The secondary spot here, headline or description, depending on the agency, bless them, is where you could put a secondary description and it will turn up. Sometimes at this point, I'll actually just copy this one into all these fields because I forget a lot of the time. And I think Alamy they read the metadata from maybe the headline rather than the title. So I've typed in my title and I have typed in all of my keywords. So we'll talk about keywords. But by now you should be aware what a keyword is. In order for anything to be found on the internet, it needs to have keywords attached to it. And stock photography is no different. And some people hate this part. If you just sit there and write a story in your head, I think I talked about this in the last video. When I take photos, I'm writing the story. So here's an old man at the beach. You know, he's gone for a morning walk and he's sitting there. I mean, he could be sad, he could be happy, we don't know. But anyway, you put all your keywords in here. So every one of these should have title and keywords. You need a minimum of 10. So we've done our titles and keywords, then we're going to upload. Here's one I prepared earlier. So we're in the image manager of Adobe Stock, and here's some of the images that I've uploaded. Now Adobe, actually, the first 10 keywords are weighted in value. So you need to make sure that whichever goes first is the most important. So in this one, which is sage, growing in a herb garden, I might put sage first. And at least on Adobe, it's just drag and drop, and you can just move them all around. Now, there's a lot of tips about keywording that we'll deal with later, and I will go in and add some more keywords here. And specifically with Adobe, you can also pop into this little side spot here and paste in extra keywords, which is really helpful. So all is not terrible. You don't have to add them all in one by one if you've forgotten. Save my work. So once I've uploaded them here, I need to go back in and move them along. Okay. So now I'm going to move these guys out of here into the next folder. So I'll move it to Shutterstock is my next one. So I'll choose the folder. I look in Shutterstock because in here I've got a lot of editorials. So these all still might need titles and keywords to be tweaked before they're going to be uploaded. So really important takeaway, please do all your titles and keywords here. That way you only do them once. Otherwise you'd be crazy to be retyping them every single time. And if you want to add all your work to a new agency later on, it's already done. So that's it. Once we've uploaded and I move them down the folders, then I plonk them into other stock done. Okay, and then in here, I'm using the same system that I use in that just to sort these once they get a little bit out of control. I will sort these also into folders. Okay, let's talk about how we might name our files. So how do we name our work? So for me, everything starts with a prefix of STK for stock. Usually, although clearly I'm not always perfect, I usually do stock and then food and then what it is. That helps me find things later. So here, when I just did a little shoot of hubby cooking steak on the barbecue, so I've called this stock _food barbecue steak. So that's like my umbrella name for this little shoot. So they're all going to start with that. And then depending on how long and complicated the whole shoot is, I'm going to give them all individual names. So this one is H horizontal smoky, barbecue steak V for vertical. This one is, I might have called that tongs, or I've called that blur because it's blurry. You could also just call it barbecue steak 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And sometimes I do that when there's just not enough for me to really distinguish. But individual file names really help you find things later. And of course, also having them keyworded and titled. If you've got all these keywords and titles attached to your files, you're going to be able to find things so much easier. So this meatball shoot that I did is called stock food meatballs, and then I've got a different code. Now you can have your own code. I've actually got little codes for myself. So there'll be things like OH for overhead, V for vertical, H for horizontal. I might do CU for close up. I have a bunch of shorthand abbreviations that I use just to help distinguish between what is what. And the reason you might also want to do this is that it can get very difficult to see what is what at some agencies. And if you've got them individually named, it's much easier. And 100% this is true for video. So many video files look the same from the beginning and you don't know what's happened. So I've got no idea what each of these videos do, except that I've at least given them all an individual name. So in this one, he turns it over. I only know that because I've called it turnover. Okay, so if you can, Give your files individual names, especially true for video, where you're going to have a bunch of them with these thumbnails that all look identical and you've got no idea what's going on. So remember, it's your system. You can do whatever you like, sort it out however you like, name things however you like, but have a system. You can see here, this is from when I used to name everything stock underscore and then a explanation, and I found writing stock was too long, and so then I shortened it. I thought I was genius having the idea to shorten it to STK. Now I think maybe I should have just shortened it to S for stock, but I usually have, because I might have photos for clients, client work, so everything has a prefix when I sort things. So client work will have the name of the client first, underscore, and then what the shoot is about. So these are stock photos. So of course for me, they all have stock first, but stock got way too long to write in the olden days. So I shortened it, and maybe in the future I will just shorten it to S underscore. I'm not ready yet. But that's why these ones have much longer names, because they're from about 4 years ago, and I was still doing that before I had my brainwave. I mentioned briefly earlier about declines. You'll notice I don't keep declines for the other stock because, one, I don't care. Decline me, don't decline. Sometimes I barely even look at it. So it goes into Adobe, I upload, I move them to Shutterstock, I move them to Alamy, I move them to So I've got heaps of stuff here that I haven't. I've got 2 movies here that can go to Adobe first. Heaps of stuff to do. Heaps of work. Look at my backlog. I shouldn't be talking to you guys. I should be working. And so, with that said, I'm going to sign off and get some of this work done. Hopefully that's been really helpful. Let me know if you have a better way of doing it. If I'm always trying to hone this workflow down to take the drudgery out of this side of things, although secretly I am one of those crazy organized people that loves this stuff as well. So if you have any extra tips, please share them down in the comments, because I would love extra tips. Fun. Thank you for supporting my brand new channel. I would love it if you could like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.